Hey Fragrance fam, my name is Izzy with the AFI media team.
I'm Camryn with the HSCG.
And she's joining us here today for a little project I have planned for her. She told me that she really enjoyed our version of Frasier Fir by Times fragrance. What did you think of it when you smelled it?
I thought it smelled like winter nights and the holidays. And just being cold.
Just being cold, being cold. And that is definitely something that we all have to keep in mind going into the colder months now, is getting our lines prepped. So I have prepared a melt and pour tutorial for you today. Have you made melt and pour soap before?
Yes, I have.
Awesome. Well, I have got some cool techniques. We're gonna do some layers. We're gonna do some embeds here.
I've never done embeds before.
Yeah, I've got some embeds here. They're super cute little stars. A lot of people like to say that melt and pour is like the great beginner project for soap makers, and I agree with that, but just because it's easy for someone to get into doesn't mean that you have to stop making melt and pour soap as you advance in your soaping experience. There's still tons of ways you can make it look really pretty, and sometimes it's just relaxing to melt, scent, and then pour. So do you want to get started and make some Frasier Fir soaps?
Yes, I can't wait.
Awesome. So first things first, we'll get our gloves on to start. So when you make embed soap, you need embeds. And these are just little embeds that we made using some clear glycerin soap. If you want to find out how to make your own soap embeds, we have tons of tutorials here on our channel, but I just made a bunch of these little stars so we could get ready with our design. Super simple. So Camryn, I'm going to have you do the honors. What we're going to do first is to get these embeds placed nicely in their spot. I find it's really helpful to actually put them in the cavity molds first, as opposed to trying to let them sink into the soap and then they get stuck on top or they get stuck in the middle and you can't really see them. Because in this mold like this right here is going to be the top of our soap. Right now it's the bottom, but when we pop it out, it'll be the top. So if we put our little stars down, they will be the things that you see on top of the soap. So we have all these embeds. You can just go ahead and place them in there however you like. I find following an odd number rule looks the prettiest, whether you use 3 or 5 per bar. You can do a little arc, you can do them in the corners. And this is why melt and pour is fun. It's you don't really have to work on a super fast time limit. Once you're doing your decorations and your embeds, you can have fun with the design, even though the medium is a little bit simpler to work with in cold process. And while you do that, I'm gonna go ahead and grab our fragrance. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, we're going to be using our version of Frasier Fir by Times. It's one of our best-selling soap fragrances, and I love it a lot because it's really gentle in the skin. It has an IFR category 9 limit of unlimited. So naturally, you don't need to use actually unlimited fragrance in your soap. You still wanna keep in mind recommended usage rates for your medium. So for example, in melt and pour soap, the usage rate for fragrance is typically 3%. So that's 3% by weight. You use too much of that and then the fragrance can start leaching out of it. So what we're gonna do is make sure we have our soap measured out. I have 9.5 ounces of soap here, and then we can measure our fragrance out before we add it in.
Okay.
But in order to get our soaps and our little stars embedded in there, we're gonna need to melt this down. So I like to use a microwave. It's pretty quick. We just have to pop it in there for 30-second intervals at a time. If you let it run in the microwave for a little bit too long, the soap can get too hot, it can start to boil, and it can actually start to scorch, which smells really bad and it'll ruin your soap.
Okay.
So
smelly soap.
Smelly soap, exactly.
Not in a good way.
Not good smelly soap.
Bad smelly soap.
30-second intervals is all we need, so it's good to have a spatula on hand. So what we're gonna do is pop that in the microwave. We can get our fragrance measured out.
Our Frasier Fir.
We're gonna have that ready to go. Once it gets mostly liquid like that and you only see a couple of small chunks in there, the best thing to do is just leave it in for 10-15 seconds at a time, because even an extra 30 seconds on top of what we have now could risk going into that scorching territory. So our clear soap base is melted down now. And like I said, I measured out 9.5 ounces of soap base for you. So keeping that 3% fragrance limit in soap base in mind, that means we're gonna need about 0.28 ounces of our fragrance oil. So you can pop it right on the scale there. And what you're gonna do is tear or zero it out with that button, so that'll revert the scale back to 0. And then you'll take your pipette and pipe it in there.
Alrighty.
All right,
cool.
That
smells great.
That smells great, awesome. So now we can pop this off here. Another awesome thing about clear soap base is that glitter and mica powders show up really, really nicely in it. So let me go ahead and grab you a little spoon so you can dose that out.
A tiny spoon?
A tiny spoon. I like to use just like a little 1/4 teaspoon sized one and add 1/4 teaspoon at a time, stirring between each addition to get the exact color that I want. You can always add more, but you can never add less. And if you add too much glitter or too much mica or any colorant to clear melt and pour, that's okay.
As you were saying.
Okay. We're good. I know it's not the easiest. This will do. So if you add too much like solid colorant or a dye or a pigment to clear melt and pour soap base, it's not going to be clear anymore. Like it'll still have a very pretty jelly kind of consistency and look to it, but you'll lose out on some of that transparency. But that looks beautiful. I know you said you want to go for like a kind of snow globy feel, so I hope that this is satisfying that.
Very snow globy.
If you want to make it a little more snow globy, I have some glitter that we can add onto the top of it after we pour, if you'd like.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we can go ahead and pour this clear layer right now, and what we're going to do after that layer hardens, we want to make sure we leave a little bit of space at the top of each of these cavities right here, so we can pour one final opaque white layer, and that's going to make everything in front of it pop. Like everything will kind of be coming off of a canvas, as opposed to just having this like clear bar soap where some of the details can get lost.
And then it looks snow globy.
It looks snow globy.
Okay.
So what you'll do is like start pouring in a corner and just like kind of slowly drizzle it over and let the soap spread out.
Okay.
And make sure all the little stars get in there. It helps to start like pouring gently in the corners, because sometimes when you have tiny little embeds, if you pour very fast and the soap kind of splashes in there, it can kind of pick the embeds off of the mold. So a gentle pour will keep them anchored to the base of the mold, so we can see them on the top of the soap. Beautiful, just like that. And since we have plenty of soap left, we can evenly fill the rest of these up. And you should have just a little bit of space, maybe like a centimeter or about half a centimeter left on top.
Great.
And then to pop any bubbles that we have on the top here, just because like melt and pour is really prone to getting super bubbly when you heat it up and stir it up, you can take some isopropyl alcohol in a spray bottle, and that'll pop any of those little bubbles, and it kind of makes the mica look all glittery in there.
Nice.
So now, while that is a little bit wet and sticky still, what we can do is take this eco glitter right here. This is made of cellulose, so it's a plant-based glitter. It's gonna look really pretty in our soap and be friendly on the environment as well. It sticks to fingers really well. Like if you just stick your gloved finger in there, it'll stick to it really nicely, and then just kind of rub and sprinkle it over the soap.
Beautiful.
And that'll be like a pretty snow globy kind of backdrop for the stars.
Snow globe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you can sprinkle to your heart's content. And then from there, we just want to make sure that clear layer we just poured is solid. It doesn't need to be like completely cool to room temperature, just needs to have like a nice solid film on top of it to get our next layer poured.
Okay, our white layer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This is kind of like when you're at the restaurant and the waiter asks you to say when.
And you never say when.
And I don't say when. Yeah, you told me I could just sprinkle to my heart's content, and I'm not like really sure, but I think that we're gonna be here a while.
Go for it. Okay, so we can go ahead and get some of our glitter away now.
Away.
Away.
Get away.
This is definitely the project to do if you want to feel like a winter fairy.
Like the sugar plum
The
fairies.
sugar plum fairy, that's what I was looking for. And this is the perfect fragrance for it. Okay, so we can just give it like a little tap to see. See how it's still like a little bit squishy and soft? That film
You don't
is
like squish.
Yes, so if we were to pour that hot white soap on top right now, the heat from that soap would actually melt that layer and then break through and kind of destroy like our little snow globe illusion.
And that would be terrible.
It would be kind of sad.
Catastrophic.
Disasters can be saved, but in this case, we have a moment to let these sit, let them cool till they're a little bit firmer on the surface, and then we'll go ahead and get back to it.
Okay.
In the meantime, we can cut up our white soap. So this is what our melt and pour soap just looks like before we cut it. I had that clear soap cut for us all set, but now I'm going to have you cut some cubes of melt and pour soap base. It's pretty easy to do if you have the right knife. I like the ones that are non-serrated, or even like a soap cutter or a cheese cutter. Those are very helpful, but it helps to put a little bit of pressure with your hand here. Bring it down and it'll slice right through. And I like to cut into like roughly 1/2 inch to 1 inch size cubes, about like that.
Okay.
The more even your little cubes are, the more evenly your soap is going to melt in the microwave, which will help you prevent scorching or clumps, all the little tricky troubleshooting things with melt and pour. It is like cutting cheese.
Cheese, I love cheese.
Me too.
I like extra sharp Vermont cheddar cheese.
I do too.
That's my favorite.
Okay, so we're gonna speed round here to do our last layer. Repeat all the same steps that we did for the clear one. I measured out a little less soap than we did for the big clear layer just because we only have that much space to fill. You wanna keep a note of exactly how much soap you're using so you know exactly how much fragrance to use. So let's get this melted real quick, top off our bars, and we'll see how they look.
Okay.
All right, so our soap is melted. Give it a stir just to make sure there's no more chunks in there. We can get it on our scale and measure out our fragrance. So just keep in mind that 3% limit. So I'm gonna go ahead and have you measure out 3 grams on the scale right here to account for the 90 grams of soap base we used. Awesome, so give that one final stir. And while you do that, I'm going to spritz the tops of our soap with isopropyl alcohol one more time, and that can help both layers of the melt and pour soap adhere to each other better and just avoid like any splitting. With that little layer, it'll kind of like just wear down the very surface of the hardened soap, and the two will adhere nicely, and you'll get one solid bar.
This smells amazing.
And the surface tension will hold like a little bit of more soap than you might think in there, so you can get it really all the way up to the edge. Awesome, so that is our bars. Now we just need to let them cool for a couple hours at room temperature. If you're in a super rush, you can pop them in the freezer, but just keep in mind that like putting any like glycerin or melt and pour soap base in the fridge or the freezer is gonna introduce a lot of moisture, and that is gonna give you what's called glycerin sweating, like sweating on your soap bars.
Okay.
You'll see a bunch of beads of like moisture and water forming on the surface of your bars. So if I'm in an absolute hurry, sure, I'll do that, I can pat them down. But if I have the time, I just like to let them cool gently and slowly at room temperature.
It's better room temperature.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we'll be back here in a moment and we can show you Camryn's final bars. Okay, I am going to reveal your soaps for you, Camryn.
Okay.
I've kind of laid them out here for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, they're so cute.
Do you want to give them a smell?
Yes.
The Frasier Fir comes through really nicely in soap.
That is great.
And those like fresh piney notes, when you take like a hot shower, oh my gosh, it's gonna fill the air. It's gonna be really refreshing. You're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, like the winter air is just bathing over you.
This is the perfect winter fragrance.
Awesome, I'm glad you think so. Well, Camryn, let me know, what did you think about making some melt and pour soap today?
This was a lot of fun and they came out so cute.
I agree.
think that was great.
I agree. Well, I'm glad we got to make some, and it just goes to show you that you don't need to use like all kinds of crazy techniques. You don't need to have a huge budget, just a couple of molds and some soap base, and of course like your fragrance of choice, and you can get a beautiful product whether you want to use it at home, give it to your friends, or sell it at a market. Camryn, thank you so much for joining us here in the AFI Project Lab today.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure, as we say down here in Georgia. If you guys want to see more melt and pour soap making tutorials along with basically any other product, go ahead and check out our channel. We got tons of other videos like this, and hopefully we'll be seeing Camryn here again in the Project Lab soon.
Thank you so much, Izzy, for having me. This was awesome.
Awesome. All right, thanks so much for watching, Fragrance Fam. We'll catch you again soon. Bye.